Mr. Ben Etiaba. Well, I stand corrected. Chief Ben Etiaba. Chief Ben Etiaba is candidate of the Action Alliance. We also have the candidate of the Allied People's Movement. Candidate of the Allied People's Movement, Colonel Architect Geoff Onyejegbu, PhD. We also have with us the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Mr. Valentine Uzibo. We also have here, already seated, the candidate of the African Democratic Congress, Chief Akachukwu Nwankpo. We're expecting to join us in due course the candidate of the Accord Party, Dr. Godwin Maduka, and also the candidate of the Young Progressives Party, Senator Dr. Ifeanyi Uba. Now, this program is going to take about 2 hours. A few housekeeping rules. We expect the candidates to speak for 5 minutes. The panelists will interact with them for 10 minutes. And then at the end of that round, each candidate will have the opportunity to provide a summary for 4 minutes. Now, please, no jeers, no cheers from the auditorium. And please, if the candidates could just be very brief, summarize what they have to present, and ensure that they keep their responses brief and straight to the point. With me anchoring this is Professor Tracy Uto Ezeajui. She's a professor of film and theater at Nnamdi Azikiwe University. Also here on the panel is Reverend Father Josephat Ugoejiofo, professor of politics, philosophy, and director of general studies at the Nnamdi Azikiwe University. We're also hoping that Dr. Sam Amadi, former chairman of the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission and a senior lecturer at Base University, Abuja, will also join us in this course, in due course. This program has been put together by Kwechiri Unity Forum in conjunction with Arise Television. I don't see you clapping for Arise Television. Anyway, thank you for that. Other media partners include Anambra Broadcasting Service, also Ogene FM 98.3 here in Anambra State, and Chris Television that is already live streaming this event online. Well, without much ado, I would like to invite immediately to the podium the candidates of the Allied People's Movement, Colonel Architect Geoff Onyejegbu, PhD. Dr. Onyejegbu, please.
Colonel Geoff Onyejegbu served in the Nigerian Army for 32 years. He served in the Army Corps of Engineers, where he commanded the brigade in Mokola, Ibadan, and at various times acting GOC of 2nd Division Nigerian Army. He was the military attaché of Nigeria to the USA in Washington, D.C. mission, with briefing sessions in Pentagon between 2002 and 2004. He holds a BSc and MSc in Architecture, University of Nigeria, an MSc in Strategic Studies, University of Ibadan, and PhD, ABDX Phoenix University, USA. He is awarded at Command and Staff College, Jaji, Distinguished Star, DSS. Please, let's welcome him to the podium.
Colonel, please, the floor is yours.
I have been very properly been introduced. I am what they say I am. And that is that I am a colonel that served for 32 years and retired about 14 years ago. I am also one of the very few that had the opportunity of attending the 3 premier universities in Nigeria. That is University of Nigeria, Ahmad Bello University, and University of Ibadan. I came out to run for the governorship of Anambra State because I believe that I am equipped with rare skill sets that the society needs at this time. Apart from being a technocrat by multiple degrees I have in diverse disciplines, I am also a diplomat, as I was introduced. I also was a businessman, a trader, man who did buy and sell. I had my shop then in Idumota, where Gabriel Chupuma, popularly known as Gabros, was giving me spare parts to sell. And when my funds came up, I had to move to Alaba, where I became one of the major importers in electronics. I had to say all this because commerce is the main calling of our people. I have to identify with the people I am coming to be their governor. Then from there, I got into a program that is my main calling, and that is architecture and engineering. For that, I served 32 years in Nigerian Army Engineers. And what we need now in this state is a complete urban renewal. The state is one of the states I would like to say that they were in the front running ahead of most states in Southeast, but now they are behind some of those states like I was just talking with a friend, like Ebonyi State. I was just talking with a friend that I served with at Ebonyi. And he said Ebonyi has now gone ahead of Anambra State, where we left Ebonyi in the 80s. Being an engineer and architect helped so much in my quest for governorship. Then the 32 years experience in security, intelligence, it's not there in the shelf of ShopRite for anyone to pick. And that is what the state needs now. You have to secure the environment before you can think of talking about economy, talking about development. If the state is not, we are here today because there's a semblance of security. But we know what the situation will be if security breaks down. This place will become very untenable for anyone to sit and listen to this or do this debate. Therefore, Anambra is seeking to employ one of us. And I can tell you, as any chief executive, you will want to employ somebody who is not only just qualified in the basics of what you need for that office, but somebody who also have added advantage. And that added advantage is what is not displayed in any shop. You can't get it in Otuanicha. You can't get it in Ikoka. The security experience, somebody who will secure this society for business to thrive, for economic development to come on. So if you do not have that, the lawyer said, "Nemo dat ko habe." You can't give what you do not have. If you have it, then you will give it. So I think that at this time, Anambra people that are seeking to employ one of us as an employee of the people, we look at the skill sets the person is bringing on board. And I think that Colonel Architect Geoff Onyejegbu, who I am, very much have those unique skill sets that are not readily available. So, I have said that I am an architect engineer, a military security man, a technocrat. Now I want to say that I have delved in the realm of education. I am an entrepreneur. I owned KB International Academy, where I had gotten first-class graduates. And I think that if I get into the leadership of this state, I will bring all or deploy all these skill sets to make a better society in Anambra State. I don't know how much time I'm giving, but...
Well, in fact, I was going to stop you, but you still have some time, but that will be for the questions from the panelists.
All right.
And I would like at this point to invite Professor Isiajuyi to go first.
Okay, Colonel, thank you very much for that, your manifesto. You worked in the security sector, so that's encouraging. And you are interested in stability and a good security. Please, can you tell us in concrete terms how you plan to curb insecurity in the state and provide a stable environment for infrastructural and human development? Thank you.
Very simple. I mean, if you're playing in a familiar turf, I will, in security, I had what I call two approaches, kinetic and non-kinetic. On kinetic, you all know, the boots on the ground. On non-kinetics, I intend using jobs to fight insecurity. First, all the youths in all the towns, we have 177 towns in Anambra State, through what I call PUG, Town Union Government, take enumeration of all the youths that are not employed, have them employed by those who can be deployed into agri-camps that I'm going to have in 3 senatorial zones. Through this agri-camp, I can always have stipends paid to them, and then they, in return, will acquire skills there and be deployed in production, in farm production. That way, every youth will be taken out of his immediate environment where he is not employed. Because the biggest problem and where you get people recruited easily are those who have nothing doing. In fact, there's no way a man who has not had his breakfast and then he's not sure where his lunch is coming, that will not end up being an angry person. But if you are sure that this is where your breakfast is, and this is how your lunch will come, by having you engaged in agriculture, by having you engaged while in the agriculture, in those agri-camps, we will have skill acquisition, we'll have skills impartation, we'll have skills that will make you also branch out to other vocations in life. That is how we want to fight insecurity through non-kinetic approach. Then on kinetic approach, I am trained. Issue of kidnapping and banditry. I think on those ungoverned spaces where they operate from, because that is exactly what happened. They operate from spaces that are not, government hadn't reached, there's no way you can reach where all those kidnappers are. I will personally lead the combing operation to go and get them out after I had, through my State House of Assembly, done enabling edicts and laws that no open grazing will be happening, so that it will be happening in this state. So that you will not say, oh, I am a herder, I was in the bush. No, everyone that is involved in that business will have an animal reserve center where you bring in your cattle by truck, you move them to that animal reserve center. You will have veterinary clinics, you will have human clinics, you will have animal fodder being produced, and you pay me some little money, 2.5%. A cattle head is about 250,000. So if you give me 2.5% of that, because it is a business, if you give me 2.5% of that, then you will be in that my animal reserve center. And
well, Doctor, your point is clear. I would like Professor Geoff to also say something.
Thank you very much, Colonel Onyejegbu. I'll be very brief. I was very impressed when you talked about security experience. I suppose we are referring to your military pedigree. Because military men think that they are fitted for security. I'm not doubting that. My question is very simple. We had the same when Buhari was coming in power. And security, since he came in power, has been disastrous, to say the least. Are we not sure that you will be the same if you are elected governor of Anambra State, so long as Anambra is concerned, of course?
Well, I will not be the same. Because he is President Buhari, I'm Colonel Geoff Onyejegbu. When you were reading my resume, I don't think his own matched my own word for word. So we are quite different persons, coming with different skill sets.
Well, thank you very much, Colonel Onyejegbu, for your presentation. Thank you very much. I would like very quickly to call the next gubernatorial candidate, and that will be the candidate of the Africa Democratic Congress, ADC, Chief Akachukwu Nwankpo.
Chief Akachukwu Nwankpo was awarded the first Anambra South Distinguished Service for Dedication. He is a native of Umuakbani, Ubaho, Kija, in Ihiala local government area of Anambra State, an ex-seminary and old boy of Ohalu Seminary Onitsha, who got his philosophy degree from Bigad Memorial Seminary, Kotekbene, and a Bachelor of Laws from Bayes University, Abuja. Please permit me to welcome to the podium Nze Akachukwu Sullivan Nwankpo.
Greetings to everyone. Today is not about me. The challenge in Anambra State is not talent, it's not money, it's not exposure. Anambra State is awash with all this stuff. The challenge we have as a state is who is willing to be in office and have the humility to be smaller so that Anambra State can grow bigger. So I call myself the facilitator. That individual who understands the genius of Anambra State and is willing to submit himself to control so that the Anambra government will not be a runaway horse, blowing siren all over the place, guarded by military men, loud music, loud noise, and handing over to us a handful of dirt. To do that, I have clear strategies. What I've done is that in the past 3 years, I've lived in Anambra State. And I've taken pains to travel Anambra. I've been to every political ward and taken detailed information as to what is wrong. Which roads are bad, the distance of the roads, which schools are broken down, which health centers are out of space, what facilities, public facilities that are absent. So I have that detailed information. I also have taken pains to ask myself, who is in charge of Anambra State? When you have a government that is not accountable to anybody, then that government is a runaway horse. The Anambra State government, in the past 20-something years of democracy, has not been accountable to anybody. The rich boys of Anambra State come home every election, pump money into the system to corrupt the population, and then they take power and they go away and leave us with a handful of dust. When they transit to persons who now use the taxpayers' money to buy the taxpayers' vote. That is the situation we have. As a candidate for ADC, what we've decided to do is to develop a strategy to make Anambra State people responsible in control of their government. And here, in the name of Akachukwu Nwankpo is your guinea pig. I call myself the facilitator. What I want to do is to develop a thoroughgoing system to turn over the governance of Anambra State to the people of Anambra State. So to do that, you take a look. At the state level, is anybody in control? No. You go down to the local government, they abolish the local government system. They hand over the space to their cronies. They call them TCs. You go down to the town level, you find that these people in power do not allow traditional rulers and BDs of town to function the towns. So our towns are in anarchy. You go down to the villages, the impact is descending that much. So we are left with churches bickering with one another as to what to do, whose church member will be a governor or be what. And when they hand over this state to the people, the churches do not have this control because they have moral authority. They don't have authority that controls the governor. So how do we deal with this? I found out that we have one threshold where people still practice effective democracy in Igbo land, in Anambra State. That place is the Umunna. At the Umunna level, leadership is without argument. We conduct elections at the Umunna level. You don't give bribe. You will never give bribe to be elected a leader of the Umunna. And when they elect you, they defend their leader. They hold meetings and they take decisions on what needs to be done. And then when they do it, they stand by it. No matter how rich, no matter how poor. When you come into the Umunna, you are reduced to the same level with everybody. So I decided to anchor our strategy around the Umunna. So what I bring to you today is Anambra Families First, a strategy to empower the Umunnas of Anambra State so they can take hold of their government. To do that, our manifesto has 4 basic steps. The first step is the people step. The core element of the people step is the establishment of the Anambra State Ministry of Umunna Affairs. Now, I have taken pains to go around Anambra State and then list every Umunna in Anambra State. I have their names, I know their leadership, and we are planning a forward-moving town hall meeting with all of them. Now, by the time we have this meeting at local government level, we are going to rise from that meeting with a manifesto, with a social contract signed by all of them and agreed by all of them, guided by the principles that I will share with you right now. The social contract will be based on elements that has to do with the local government election, independence of the judiciary, independence of the legislature, professionalism of the civil service. Everybody in Anambra State has to understand that until the governor is executive, the legislature is free, the judiciary is free, the civil service is professional, we cannot have a government. So I have processes to make sure that happens. And to make sure that in the process of doing this, that nobody in Anambra State will stop from doing that as governor. The first bill I would take to the Anambra State House of Assembly is a modification of our criminal justice law of 2016. That modification will deal with an introduction of a new position called the public defender. The public defender will administer arrest and bail. The principle is that we are going to have lawyers, young lawyers. Anambra State is awash with them. They are unemployed. They're not doing enough. We are going to put them in every police station on a 6-hour rotation, covering 48 hours. If you arrest any person in Anambra State, bring him to a police station, the magistrate will look at it. Is he properly arrested? Does he deserve bail? If he's not properly arrested, the government of Anambra State will stop you. If he's properly arrested, then the government of Anambra State will offer him a temporary bail, which the government will take on behalf of the Umunna. And then we are going to send notice to the officer in charge of Umunna Affairs from his family to arrange bail within 24 hours. Now, that is a process to make sure that the freedom of expression in Anambra State is bold and precise. Of course, we will also deal with issues of security, healthcare, care for the challenged, jobs, housing, and also education. But because of the limitations of time, I'm not going to go into details of that. We will also pay attention to economic development. The fundamental element in economic development is production. You can't have employment and wealth if you don't have production. So what we are going to do is to deal with consumption, because consumption stimulates production, and production stimulates employment and wealth creation. Now, to do that, you need to deal with your domestic environment. The domestic resources you require to build effective government is your own money. You cannot borrow yourself. You can't borrow out of poverty. Anambra is a rich state. So we have a very innovative thinking that we want to introduce, which we call Anambra Savings and Investment Portfolio. Now, this is something that we will work through the laws to find how we exploit the space within development banking to create a protocol where 5 from the age of 10 in Anambra State, everybody from the age of 10 in Anambra State, we will find a protocol to get them to save 500 naira a month minimum. You can save more, but you know Anambra is a rich place. Our people can save 500 naira a month. But when you do that, you aggregate a massive amount of funds. This process will have a 10 years exit window so that we can accumulate capital that we can then borrow on single digit to begin to build the infrastructure that we need to move our state forward. When we build that, when we develop those assets that are called non-tradable assets, those assets that you can't export, those things that you use around you to make your place habitable, hospitals, good roads, water systems, sewage control, all those basics, you cannot borrow your way into it. You have to find domestic fund to deal with it. And that means you introduce savings at the whole household level, at the corporate level, and at the government level to build the resources we need to be able to fund this system. Now, in doing that...
Geoff Onyejegbu, at this point...
Is it gone already?
Oh, yeah, it's more than...
Unbelievable. How time flies.
No, you are...
Can you give me the other 4 minutes so I can use it? I'm just a facilitator.
No.
Come on, man.
No, you are expected to speak for 5 minutes and then you respond to questions.
Thank you.
But let me start. You raised a very sensitive issue in Anambra politics. The extent to which religion is a very strong factor. This conflict between Catholics, who insist they are the dominant group, and then the Anglicans, who say that they have not had enough opportunities, to lead Anambra State. And now you say, you will address that with the concept of the Umunna, or the, families first concept. Are you planning to disempower the church in Anambra State?
No.
So what's your strategy?
You see, let me explain this to you. This issue of Catholics, Anglicans, Pentecostals is a serious misunderstanding. And it needs to be addressed. In a democracy, the larger number gets to win the vote. Now, the problem in Anambra State is that people who have been on top of the affairs of our state have hidden under religious pretenses to undermine the progress of the state. You see, for me, I'm a staunch Catholic, an ex-seminarian. I am the vice chairman, they call us facilitator in there, but the vice chairman of the Pastoral Council of Nnewi Diocese. And I know that the Catholic faith, the Catholic Church, does not undermine the love of Christ. So, what we have in Anambra State is a population that is greatly Catholic. Now, that's what we have. From my own statistics, some people might disagree with it. But the statistics I have with me says that the population is more Catholic. But the conduct of anybody who in the name of the Catholic Church undermines the unity of brothers is not Catholic. As governor, I will never conduct myself in a way that anybody who approaches my office will feel religious. And that is why I decided to go down to the Umunna, where there is no Catholic, no Anglican, no Protestant. When you go to the Umunna, we have conversations as brothers. Because that's what our forefathers taught us. The fundamental of democracy. We vote, we protect our leadership, we love ourselves, and we protect ourselves.
Okay, at this point, Professor Geoff, over to you.
Thank you, Chief Nze Sullivan Nwankpo. Listening to you, I feel happy that you were once my student, at the seminary. I'll be very brief again. Umunna as a model, very interesting. Sounds very good. Umunna is a model that may not be that positive. Not always, anyway. Not in every aspect. You talk about votes, elections that are not corrupt. I don't believe that. Because if you give them a snuff at night before the election, you may win. It's just snuff. More importantly, all this question of women, the meeting you are referring to, women are not included. Even if you are a professor of the women are not included in Umunna meeting. They are not. And when you talk about the vote, they don't have vote in Umunna meeting.
I thought you were asking me a question. I expressed
yes,
an opinion.
I'm asking you. Is that the model now that you are going to transpose to Anambra State? Thank you.
Yeah, for me, Father, I can respect the fact that you have forgotten how the Umunna functions. Because you've been away from it for a long time. In the Umunna meeting, you have what they call Umuyom. Umuyom. Umuyom is a body of women married into the family who also hold their meetings and feed in exactly the position and decorum of womanhood into the Umunna. In fact, from the Umuyom, you get the women who have performed very well. So they become celebrated for their performance. And women too constitute the control called Umada. If you misbehave in the Umunna and your conduct is inappropriate, the daughters you've married away to other lands will come and chastise you. They are called Umada.
So in your meeting, in your Keja Umunna, when they have meeting, women will be member part of the meeting. I'm asking you. No, be honest. Are women part of?
Father, yes.
Your question is, are women part of the meeting, Umunna meeting in Okeja?
Father, let me explain what you are misunderstanding.
I'm surprised you are saying that.
Father, let me explain what you are misunderstanding. What you are misunderstanding is the interface between womanhood and manhood in a traditional Igbo society.
Okay, on that note, Professor Ajoyi, over to you.
Okay, Chief, I don't want to go into the Umunna system. You are interested in accountability. That's encouraging because we're all interested in accountability. Yes. I want to know, how do you want to translate it into a platform that will ensure effective infrastructural development with emphasis on the award of contracts for road networks?
Okay. In my infrastructure quorum, you have the infrastructure mix, ownership mix. When you come to deal with infrastructure, there are 3 levels of interface you can create in the management of infrastructure. You have the totally private, totally public, then a mix of private and public. Now, when it's totally private, the issue of, this kind of process of corruption is an investment. So the investor who comes to build that asset, builds it, and there's a deep understanding on a recovery phase. For the public, wholly public, is where you deal with procurement. The procurement law of Anambra State is definite. And e-governance, removing the human interface, reducing the interference of people in the process of governance is the key to accountability. If you look at the current day Anambra State, the baseline of planning, if you go to the Department of Planning and Statistics of Anambra State, most of the baseline information are not valid. So, as governor, I have indicated in my manifesto that I'm going to declare a state of emergency on the Department of Planning, so that we can have the baseline statistics. What does sand cost? What does this one cost? What does that one cost? You feed this as preemptive information into your procurement protocol, so that when your procurement people come to engage with a business transaction, the data regulates their behavior. So I'm going to introduce e-governance, and I'm going to deal with a process where the mix for the ownership and delivery of infrastructure will follow production, communication, and distribution. So infrastructure becomes a product, and the product owners will run it through a communication channel. And at the point of distribution, you get value for money. Once you do that, then you are on, and you can ride.
Well, we'd like to thank you, Chief Nwankpo. I would now like to call the next candidate. Thank you very much indeed. And that next candidate will be the candidate of Action Alliance, Chief Ben Etiaba. Chief Etiaba.
The former chairman of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, United Kingdom District, was born on the 20th of September 1963 to the late Magistrate BMC Etiaba and Her Excellency Dame Virgie Etiaba. After his initial education in Nigeria for basic studies, he left for England in 1982. In England, Ben studied at West London College, Accountancy Tutors Emil Wolfe Colleges, and South Bank University, London. Following his qualification as a chartered accountant in England, he worked in industry with Thames Valley Services UK, rising to the position of Director, Admin and Finance. He was a former partner of Delbow & Co. Chartered Certified Accountants. He has had over 30 years of professional experience in industry and practice. Chairman of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, United Kingdom from 2002 to 2004. He was a former chairman of the London Group, Nigeria's professional leaders in UK from 2005 to 2007. Ben, who is currently the governorship candidate of the Action Alliance, is the former executive chairman of the prestigious Enugu Sports Club, a Knight of St. Christopher of the Anglican Communion of the Church of Nigeria, and holds the traditional titles of Ifenni and Newi and Ezechikwadolu, one N'Ugbo Ancient Kingdom. Welcome to the rostrum.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Good evening to Ruben, to the professors. I'm delighted to be here. You would have noticed one thing as I walked up to the stage, that I took a different route. And that is because I believe in what Brasolos always said, that the key to success is to do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. And for us to succeed in Anambra, we need a different thinking. We need to begin to do things differently. We need to become more creative. That's the only thing that will give us the success that we seek. Because if you keep doing the same thing the same way over and over again, the result will still be the same. So that's why I came through there. But a different reason, we have some beautiful ladies in the audience as well. I wanted to take a longer time to walk up to the stage so that you can work out the fact that the candidate of Action Alliance is more handsome than Geoff and Akachukwu. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ben Etiaba. The night is about my manifesto, not about me. You've heard a bit about me, but can I just say a few things about myself? Because It's not about coming here to tell you what I will do if I'm lucky to be elected governor by His grace. It's never about the manifesto. It's always about the candidate. Who is he? What has he done in the past to make you believe that he'll deliver on his promises? Because anybody can read up any manifesto, go online, Google it, come here and regurgitate it. It's not about that. It's about your leadership credentials, your record of public service over the years. And you cannot be running for governor if you have not led and led well. So you can have some signposts you can go back to refer and ask questions. When this guy led here, what did he do? How did he relate with the members that he led? And how did he live up to the obligations, the promises he made when he was chasing office? So I'll tell you this, I've won 5 elections in a row and I've lost none. That's the first thing I want to say to you. One day I may lose, but I hope not now. At 27, I was a young man in England. I led Nnewi Community Association of Great Britain and Ireland. All the grandparents, the parents, the young ones, an election was called a 27-year-old Bachelor 1, because right from a very early age, I was showing leadership skills. And I led them well. I was re-elected unopposed. That's the first one. Secondly, I led the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria in United Kingdom, and I became the first person of Southeast Nigeria extraction to do that, because usually it is the Yorubas that are members of ICANN in UK. But I won that election. I became the first person to win it, and the only chairman of ICANN that served 2 terms as ICANN chairman in UK. Till date, nobody has served 2 terms. I'm not boasting about it. I say these things with every sense of humility, but there must be something about this guy that makes him get his second term.